Ah, why hello there. It's me, Lark the Vampire. You just caught me in the middle of my morning regime, brushing the old fangs. Stay tuned for this month's show, by the way. Perfect. Put those fangs away for now. So hello there, my name is Lark the Vampire and I am nearly 507. And welcome to the Bloody Fang-Tastic Show, where I give you a triple helping, a review, facts and mythology on a vampire movie. So as it's the first one of 2023, and as I ended 2023 celebrating the 30th anniversary of Bram Stoker's Dracula, I thought I would go to the OG Dracula film. It is, of course, I'm talking Dracula, 1931. Let's go with the review first, shall we? So, Dracula 1931. This is directed by Todd Browning and screenplay written by Garrett Fort, based on Bram Stoker's novel Dracula of the same name, and it stars the legendary Bela Lugosi, David Manners, Helen Chandler, Dwight Frey, and Edward Van Sullen. So, of course, you should know the opening, the whole story to this. Jonathan Harker is sent to Dracula's castle to do an estate deal where he meets the Count himself, Dracula, played by the great Bela Lugosi, and of course he makes his way to England, where he wishes to feed on the living and also have his eyes set on one woman. But of course he encounters the monster hunter Abraham Van Helsing, and of course he is then revealed to be the vampire causing all the chaos and mayhem, and they turn it into a hunt where they must look for him. That's the essential story. So what did I like about this? Well, I liked that this was the first ever horror movie with sound. When they said in 1931 in Hollywood there's a horror film with sound, now given that at the time the only film that had sound was 1926's The Jazz Singer, they started doing it with other genres including horror, and I thought I need to see this film. And I saw it and I was like, not fully accurate to the real Dracula, but hey, this is literature we're talking, and this was all approved by Stoker's estate. But I thought this was amazing. The gothic tone, the black and white, I didn't care about that, but the fact that it was in sound was just crazy. And we were treated to another horror film that year, Frankenstein, which again was in sound, which was mind-boggling. But still, I watched this and I was just took in. Bela Lugosi, he created the modern trope for Dracula, how he's portrayed to this very day with the aristocratic look, the long cloak, the whole Transylvanian accent that we hear in the films, and of course has kind of made himself immortal with these films. Of course, there was a lot of good effects in this now, very practical stuff, including the bit where we see Dracula as a bat. We never see him physically change on screen, but we know it's him, and the bat's a puppet, which today is in the archives at Universal Studios. But that gazing stare Lugosi does, it's just so great how he did it. He also played Dracula in stage plays before that and after this film, which we'll get to in the facts. But yes, the big standout is, of course, the Hungarian actor himself, Bela Lugosi. We had other great supports as well, including Jonathan Harker, that was played by David Manners, and Renfield by Dwight Frey. We even had Edward Van Sollen as Van Helsing and Helen Chandler as Mina Sarwood, not Mina Murray. I don't know whether that was for name rights, for copyright claims or something. I don't know, but well, Stoker's work is in the public domain now, so copyrights have expired on that. But this was just a good film. In all, it's not a long film. It's about 75 minutes long because they could only make films for so long back then. But this premiered in New York in 1931 in February, and 2 days later on Valentine's Day throughout the whole US. And yeah, it was just amazing that it was made with sound. We even had an opening to the music Swan Lake as the film opened up. And then there was no score, but it was all added in later on in years as it was remastered. But, I'm sure this was an adaptation that did Bram Stoker proud. I mean, it was based more on the Broadway play, but the book and the materials were all there. And, I don't think I have a bad thing to say about this film. It's eerie, it's gothic, it's an immortalized classic, and I truly enjoy it a lot. So you know what? I will give this one, because as I said, I don't think I have a dislike, and Lugosi was great along with Edward Van Sollen. Is that his name, Van Helsing? Yes. So you know what? I want to start on a good note. I'm giving Dracula 5 fangs out of 5. So there you go for the review of this one. So now we go to our next interesting part, the facts or the mythology. Let's go with the mythology first, shall we? The mythos. The mythology goes as followed. Dracula is powerful by night and is a creature of the night. He has the appearance of a man, but, of course, is a vampire, and does drink the blood of the living. Also, hates the smell of garlic, and can shapeshift such as into a bat. And, of course, hates ancient symbols of goodness, like the Christian cross, as Van Helsing shows him. Dracula was the first ever horror film to have sound in 1931. It also came out the same year as another Universal horror classic, Frankenstein. The opening music to this film is from the Act 2 of Swan Lake, and the rest of the film didn't get a score until 1998, when the film was remastered. A Spanish-language version of Dracula in 1931 was filmed at night on the same movie set at the same time, only with Spanish-speaking actors. Dracula 1931 was regarded as the first horror film to kickstart the horror genre in Hollywood. Carla Lemmy was the last surviving cast member of this film. She played the role of the ungainly teenage coach passenger reading a book on the history of Transylvania aloud. She rightly claimed that she was the first woman to talk in a picture to have the first line of dialogue in a horror film. When she died on June 12, 2014, she was 104 years old. The spiderwebs used in Dracula's castle were created by shooting rubber cements from a rotary gun. The line in the film that Bela Lugosi speaks, "Listen to them, children of the night, what music they make," was voted as the 83rd movie quote by the American Film Institute out of 100.
Carla Lemmy was the niece of the founder and head of Universal Pictures. Some of the original prints of the film were tinted green to give it a more eerie look. When Universal purchased the rights to the 1927 Broadway play, Lon Chaney was considered for the title role. However, Lon Chaney died on the 26th of August 1930, and the role went to Hungarian actor Bela Lugosi. But his son, Lon Chaney Jr., would later play the role of Dracula's son in 1943's Son of Dracula. He played the character of Count Alcard, which is Dracula spelt backwards. It has been rumoured that a long version is in existence prior to the film being re-edited before release. The running time was close to approximately 84 minutes. The Royal Albert Hall sequence of the movie was filmed on the same stage where The Phantom of the Opera from 1925 was filmed, that had starred Lon Chaney. Betty Davis, who had a contract at Universal at the time, was considered to play the part of Mina Harker. However, the head of Universal Studios, Carl Lemmy Jr., didn't think too highly of her sex appeal. This was not the first on-screen adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, as in 1922 the film Nosferatu was an adaptation of Stoker's work, but due to copyright claims they had to change the name of the characters in that film. However, with them crediting Bram Stoker in the film, his estate ordered the film reels to be destroyed, but some hung on to them, and to this day Nosferatu, like Dracula, is regarded as a classic. Dracula was the sixth most popular film at the time in the US box office for 1931. Due to studio demands to cut the costs, the film was shot in sequence. In the scene where Dracula and Renfield are travelling to London by boat, the footage shown is borrowed from a Universal silent film called Stormbreaker from 1925. Silent films were projected at different frames per second, speed from that later adapted for sound films. It was because of Bela Lugosi's performance. Many actors who would later portray the character of Dracula throughout the years would go on to recreate his portrayal of the character. However, over time, other actors have done their own spin on Dracula, but it was from Bela Lugosi's performance that the modern trope of Dracula became. Bela Lugosi had played Dracula in various stage plays before playing the role in this film, and would go on to feature in many other Universal horror films as Dracula. However, this would also make and break his career, as he became typecasted in the role, but did play other roles in other projects at Universal Studios in horror. But in the end, he was forever known as Dracula, and resumed playing the role in stage theatres right up until his death on August 16th, 1956, where he was buried in his Dracula cloak at the age of 73 when he passed in Los Angeles. Bela Lugosi was so stuck in the role, at one point he thought he was Dracula, and even had his own castle constructed in Los Angeles and lived in it, and today the castle remains. However, it is the home of Hollywood actor Johnny Depp now.
Well, that's all we got time for this month's show. Have you enjoyed it? Do let me know if you have. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and feel free to subscribe to the official Random Horror YouTube channel if you haven't already. And there is all the notifications and social media links down below in the description. So, I have been Lark the Vampire, and this has been the Bloody Fang-Tastic Show. So until next time, don't have nightmares. Uh-huh. Juicy.